The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Vice President Leni Robredo is calling on the government to finalize its decision on the use of face shields outdoors. In her weekly radio show, Robredo urged the government to decide once and for all on the face shield policy to avoid confusion among the public. She added that the government must follow what experts say about face shields to ensure the right protocols being implemented.
Sana wag yung urong-sulong, sana hindi mix yung messaging. Kasi kung ano yung sabi ng eksperto, sundin natin, pero ayusin natin yung panukala.
Robredo, meanwhile, was appalled after an executive of Pharmally Pharmaceutical admitted that they swindled the government over its deals. Robredo stressed that corruption, especially at a time when people are dying due to COVID-19 crisis, is simply unforgivable.
Hindi talaga siya ka-Eli forgivable. Hindi na nga forgivable yung corruption at any stage. Lalo pa ngayong pandemic. So, pag nanonood ako ka, Eli, ang isip ko lang, paano kayo nakakatulog sa gabi yung mga taong ito? Ang daming mga kababayan na natin yung namatay. Kulang yung health worker sa ospital, kulang yung medical equipment. Etong kinita dito, kung doon na napunta, di ang dami sanang buhay yung nasalba.
The OCTA Research Group reports the alarming COVID-19 situation in the northern part of Luzon. Professor Guido David told One News that some parts in regions 1 and 2 are experiencing high healthcare utilization rate. He also raised alarm in Cordillera Administrative Region. Meanwhile, he noted the downward trend of COVID-19 cases in Metro Manila, Cavite, Laguna, Bulacan, as well as Cebu City, Cagayan de Oro, and Davao City.
In most other areas in NCR, Cavite, Laguna, Bulacan, the trend is going down. Even in Cebu City, in Cagayan de Oro, I just published a tweet earlier today with the trend in Cagayan de Oro. They have a very low reproduction number, and they have decreased to pre-pandemic levels. Pre-surge levels. And then also in Davao City, they're seeing a decrease in cases.
The Interior Department reports that around 42,000 inmates have received their COVID-19 jabs. Out of this number, 14,500 have been fully vaccinated. Meanwhile, more than 12,500 uniformed personnel of the Jail Management and Penology Bureau completed their COVID-19 shots. The Commission on Human Rights has been calling attention to the condition of persons deprived of liberty, or PDLs, and their need for COVID-19 vaccination. Most experts remain unconvinced that there's enough data to justify an extra dose for the rest of the population. Some governments have started to consider the use of booster shots initially for the vulnerable sectors. More details in this video.
I know it's difficult to answer, but do I need a booster or not? And do I listen to the CDC or the FDA?
Well, at the end of the day, we're going to go with the CDC guidance that came out late last night. And that essentially boils down to, if you're over the age of 65, you're eligible for a booster. If you have an underlying medical condition and you're 18 and over, you can get a booster. And if you're in an occupation that puts you at increased risk of coming in contact with individuals who might be COVID-19 positive, for example, hospital workers, long-term care facility workers, you're also eligible for a booster. So it's a rather broad swath of the population that will now be eligible for boosters here in the U.S.
Andy, you're in this profession. You've been watching the will they recommend boosters or won't they recommend boosters debate that has caused people to resign within some of the regulatory agencies in the United States. Have you ever seen such a public disagreement and a messy rollout of health policy before in your tenure in the field?
It's a really difficult time right now. It's clear that there is lots of data suggesting that boosters in the over 65 and those with medical conditions predisposing to severe COVID, boosters will help those individuals because it will boost their protection against severe disease. The debate really comes for the rest of the population. The data suggesting that boosters are going to be worth the extra protection that they might give is really not there. It makes sense to try to protect our healthcare workers, for instance, and so logically speaking, it's something that we should really consider, but the data isn't there in terms of how useful these boosters are going to be, and that's where the debate really is falling in.
Well, here's my issue with this, Andy, is the fact that we're talking about boosters really applies to only people that already wanted the vaccine. And there are still millions of people across the United States who remain unvaccinated. How damaging is this kind of mixed messaging from regulators, from science officials who people have been told to trust, to those who have decided that they don't want to get their shots?
This is such an important point, and it was really discussed in great detail at the CDC meeting yesterday. You don't want to send the message that essentially everybody needs a booster because that implies that the vaccines aren't working. The vaccines are actually holding up fairly well, even with this onslaught of Delta, which is a variant that is much, much more dangerous than any previous SARS-CoV-2 variant that we've seen so far. So the critical thing to get this pandemic under control, particularly here in the U.S., but also globally, is to get unvaccinated people vaccinated. Boosters have a role, and again, we want to protect those vulnerable from severe disease, but this discussion of boosters is sort of taking away from the critical point for controlling the pandemic, which is unvaccinated people.
Well, and we know that there are pockets of unvaccinated people. It has been quite regionalized. Among those pockets includes a lot of the South, but we are actually starting to see cases decline in many of those areas. Should we take solace in that?
Well, you know, the infection has really burned through a lot of populations. We're getting immunity, but we're getting it in the wrong way. We're getting immunity in the population through infection, through hospitalization, through stress on the medical community, and we're only now going to start to see the effects of long COVID, which we haven't discussed yet because we've been so focused on the acute cases. But many of these individuals are going to start suffering long-term consequences from their infections, and we'll deal with that over the next 6 to 9 months or even longer than that. So it's such an important part of the discussion that has been sort of, again, not really the focus.
Meanwhile, experts push for mental health awareness as more people experience psychological trauma amid the restrictions brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's the report.
Over a year into the COVID-19 pandemic, more and more individuals having mental health challenges are trying to cope with the new normal, especially the healthcare frontline workers who push themselves to be brave just to go to work every day.
COVID-19 is our World War II. Mental health is one of the major problems of this prolonged emergency, which has already lasted more than a year and a half. It sometimes seems like there is no end in sight. This is especially true for our healthcare frontliners who face danger, despair, and stress. Sila ang tunay na bayani. We focus on that issue. We have experts to discuss solutions. What we can do to help is to continue to support our technicians, our nurses, and our doctors. Social cohesion, a sense of solidarity, and being able to cope are key to getting us through the pandemic.
PDRF, or the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, hosted a virtual roundtable discussion called Mental Health Matters. They invited psychologists and experts from different universities. Psychologists clarified that mental health doesn't automatically equate to mental disorder or illnesses. Rather, Mental health is a state of mind of a person. They also emphasized that all feelings are valid, but that we should watch out for certain parameters.
Nagiging familiar tayo doon sa ating nararamdaman, like in-honor natin siya. Kasi may mga times na hindi tinatry natin na i-shift yung attention natin sa ibang bagay eh. At hindi natin namamalayan na nadadagdagan yung mga nararamdaman nating dumadagdag yung problema, and then magugulat na lang tayo pagkagising natin, parang yung before na nararamdaman nating sadness nag-turn into something na parang sobrang emptiness na feeling. So kaya kailangan maging aware tayo doon sa nafe-feel ng body natin. Pag nararamdaman ng body natin kung ano ibig sabihin no, napapagod ka na, mag-take ka ng pause. Kailan natin masasabi, yun nga, ano yung parameters para masabi natin na kailangan na natin talaga ng professional help. Or kung hindi man umabot dun sa part na kailangan ng professional help, ano ba yung mga paraan na pwede natin gawin?
Experts said that we should look out for strange behavior, including the duration, dysfunctionality, and distressful or dangerous thoughts. They also advised to consult a professional immediately if there is a deviance on behavior, but emphasized that seeking professional help should not be stigmatized as it can prevent more serious illnesses. Experts also stressed the importance of self-care, saying that we need to pause and recharge when we feel burnt out or stressed.
Kailangan balance yon. So pag sinabing self-care, it means balance. It's also not about perfection. Hindi ibig sabihin nagsa-self-care ka, hindi ka na matatakot, hindi ka na mapapagod, hindi ka na magkakamali. May pagkakataon na mangyayari pa rin yon. But the ability to know and realize that, teka muna, parang may namali, is already part of knowing that you already know how to manage yourself.
Ng mental health, spectrum siya. Kaya nga na-mention kanina pa ni Ate Yeng na as much as possible, you have to be mindful dun sa nararamdaman mo. Ikaw ang nakakaalam yan, huwag natin antayin na masagad po tayo.
They also advised that if someone we know needs help, we should try to listen to them and acknowledge how they feel. And importantly, try to give them the support they need, because there is a growing number of people who need mental health care. PDRF invites everyone to sign up for their free online courses about resilient mental health and well-being, which talks about psychosocial support, stress management, and self-care.
Definitely this course can help, can walk you through how to go about it, no? And also, most importantly, this also offers help on how you can take care of yourself better. So, katulad din nung nasabi kanina, definitely we have to do and practice self-care.
Sam Tirante, we are One News.
Let's now take a quick look at today's other top stories. With reports of a declining COVID-19 reproduction rate, Metro Manila may be placed under a less stringent alert level by the end of the month. MMDA Chairman Benhar Abalos noted the below 1 reproduction rate cited by the OCTA Research Group as one of the possible factors for lowering the alert level system in the metro. Although this may be the case, the DOH has previously said that it's not yet time to downgrade NCR's alert level. Senator Richard Gordon barred that the Senate could no longer contact the Pharmally officer Crizel Grace Mago amid their offer to give her protection. Mago previously said she tampered the expiration dates of face shields delivered to the DOH upon the order of Pharmally corporate treasurer and Secretary Mohit Dargani. Mago also believed that the company may have been swindling the government. And Typhoon Mindule has intensified further while slowly moving over to the Philippine Sea. The typhoon, with local name Lani, was located at some 1,590 kilometers east of northern Luzon. Pag-asa said it may enter the Philippine area of responsibility on Tuesday or Wednesday. Now, for more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. You may also visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register now for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.